Diving into ACC play and closing out the 2025 calendar season, NC State basketball finishes on the right foot, a 13-point victory over Wake Forest.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. Our Wednesday post-game show is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, especially on Fridays, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. What's up, Wolfpack Nation? Happy Wednesday to all. Happy New Year's Eve to all. As you can see, I'm flying this one solo. Kenton is stuck up in the airport, so I will take us home here to finish the calendar year of 2025. A 13-point victory over the Wake Forest Demon Deacons for NC State on Wednesday afternoon. Kenton and I spoke about the importance of getting out to on the right foot, especially in ACC play, and against Wake Forest nonetheless. We've had our fair share of struggles against them these last couple of years. We also talked about how Wake Forest would probably give us a good game. They've taken some of the top teams in the country down to the wire, that being both Michigan and Texas Tech. But Wake Forest did not look like a team of that caliber today. And to be honest, neither did NC State. But NC State still found a way to dominate this game, especially there in that second half. A 13-point victory is just what the doctor ordered. I want to start here talking about the NC State defense. And obviously, that has been a point that we've really harped on these last couple weeks. I thought their best defensive performance was the last game they played before today. That was against Ole Miss. But they really parlayed some of that defensive pressure into today's game as well. Wake Forest only shot 33% overall, 25% from three. That's excellent. And we told you that Wake Forest was not exactly going to light it up from beyond the perimeter, but you did a really good job of suffocating them nonetheless. We told you about the three-headed monster for Wake Forest. That was Harris, Spillers, and Colvin. Colvin had a pretty solid game. Harris obviously did as well. He had 17 on 5 of 16 shooting. But Trayvon Spillers is really what caught my attention in this game. Him being their presence there down in the front court. Van Allen-Lubin and Sanye did an excellent job. Held him to just 4 points, 2 of 8 shooting. Couldn't find him to get any stability down there. And I think that really changed the landscape of this game for NC State. So the defensive pressure in this game, I think that's most certainly my high point to touch on here out of the gate. Quadir Copeland, another high point. He is, I think, far and away at this point, the best player we have on the floor any and all times. He picked up a couple bogus fouls. Otherwise, he probably could have had an even better game than he already did. But finished with 14 points, 7 assists, which is insane. The amount of the interior passing he could find with virtually no space at all to work with. Passing in a phone booth, if you will, still finds a way to get it done. Quadir Copeland has been not only the glue, but the engine of this team at the exact same time. So shout out to Q, another great performance for him. Let's talk a little bit about Darian Williams here. 8 points, but he had 6 boards and 4 assists. And I know he still doesn't quite look like the same Darian we saw in the first couple weeks in terms of shooting. But something else we talk a lot about, not just Darian specifically, but anyone else on the roster, when your shot is not falling, how else can you find ways to impact the game? He did that today. Like I said, 6 boards, 4 assists. Some of those assists, especially down to Lubin in the interior for an easy bucket, key moments of that game as well. And so Darian, as seasoned, as experienced of a player as he is, you expect that from him. And he gave that to you in a couple key moments there, especially there in that second half, making that extra pass instead of trying to, hawk up another 3 when he hasn't shot it that particularly well of late. So Darian Williams, although he's not quite there at the scoring, not exactly getting what we thought we'd get, in the scoring department, but still finding a way to impact the basketball game. That's what winning players do. That's what winning programs do. And so, like I said, that's not just limited to Darian. I thought you got winning basketball out of Paul McNeil again today. Only took 5 3-pointers, but he did bury 2 of them. That's 40% there. He had 13 points. I thought Allen Breed, I've talked a lot about Allen Breed these last couple weeks, just a calming presence whenever he's on the floor. I think, to be quite honest with you, and this is not to denigrate anything that Trey Holloman's doing, but I find Breed to just be more balanced in a sense, especially in that capacity of ball handling. Trey tends to get out of control a little bit at times, and Quadir does, occasionally as well. The turnovers in this game was definitely a low point, but Allen Breed, I think you're just going to see more and more and more of him as these weeks go on, and especially as you get deeper into ACC play. The experience is something you can't always easily replicate when you're trying to put together a team of 10, 11 new faces. Allen Breed was, he's not going to light up the stat sheet, but 4 points, 4 boards, that'll always get it done for you, especially in the limited minute capacities there. Where else should we go now? Matt Abel. I thought Matt Abel played a decent game coming off the bench. He gave you 9 points. He hit a big 3 there in that second half. Matt Abel is continuing to come along as well. And maybe he's giving you more than we thought we'd get out of him. Maybe he's giving you less than you thought you'd get out of him. But finding a steady level for him of production these next couple weeks, that will also be key. And, at times he gets himself into trouble, makes some freshman mistakes, but for a 4/5-star freshman to come in and give us what we've already gotten from him, he's only going to continue to get better and better as this thing goes on. So I thought Matt Abel played another decent game. Van Allen Lubin, what a presence he's really turned out to be for this group. He had another double-double, 12 points, 11 boards, just that steady presence down there in that front court. And, as critical as maybe some of us were, I was in the very beginning of the season, he's really found some stable footing now, and he seems to be a consistent source of both offense and defense in this game. Like I said, the defensive effort they gave against Trayvon Spillers down there in the paint, it was excellent, and that's going to transition very well as you play some other teams that have to rely on some of their bigger players in ACC play. So all told, I'll keep this relatively brief here, a 13-point win over Wake Forest, just what the doctor ordered. This is the type of opportunity that NC State has to take advantage of, not just today, but your other home games, especially when you have to play teams like Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, or in this case, Wake Forest. When you're favored, even though I was kind of surprised that we were favored by nearly 10 points, and I guess for good reason, being that we won by 13, you have to take advantage of your opportunities at home. So I thought we did a pretty good job there, especially winning this game, not even playing that well in order to do so. That's a mark of a team that continues to make progress as they go along. So again, 13-point win over Wake Forest. Pretty pleased there. Coming up next, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the specific statistics in this game that really jumped off the page. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday/post-game sponsor is FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, but FanDuel is giving you a shot to make them even better. Every Friday night before your NBA games tip off, FanDuel's giving fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame. It's a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before tip-offs begin. This is Fridays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can get boosts, bonuses, and occasionally other surprises. It's an easy way to check your weekly specials before tip-off and make that move before the window closes. The timing, you cannot say enough about it. It's perfect. It's right before the games, right before your weekend begins. It adds a little extra Friday energy to Friday night without overthinking it. So before tip-off on Friday, check the FanDuel app to see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour. That's every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner, of the NBA. All right, middle portion of our Wednesday show. Like I said, a 13-point victory over Wake Forest. The defense, like I said, in this game, holding Wake Forest to just 25% beyond the perimeter, 33% overall, your total field goal percentage. The closeouts, like I mentioned, I thought the best defensive performance of the season was Ole Miss, but I thought they maintained that level of play today against Wake Forest. The closeouts have been significantly better, getting into the face of an open shooter to decrease the amount of open looks, because that's something that really killed us in the beginning couple weeks of the season. And I know there's a lot of discussion about luck and how NC State was statistically one of the most unlucky teams in the country. Whether you believe fully in that or not, it seems like water has certainly found its level as we've played these last couple weeks. You had Texas go off against us. You had, obviously, Melvin Council Jr. for Kansas go off against us. A career night for Melvin Council back then. But Now it seems like we're adding just a little bit of added pressure once you get out on the perimeter, closing out and forcing teams into poorly contested shots. We've seen a whole lot more of that in these last 4 or 5 games. And so that's something that has been a clear adjustment that's been made. So you have to give credit to Will Wade and the staff in particular. I believe Brandon Chambers is the defensive coordinator, quote unquote. That's been much improved these last couple weeks. And again, it'll only get more important once you have to run into the Virginias of the ACC or the Louisvilles later on down the road. They will try to kill you from the outside. And so if you're not able to effectively switch, effectively pick up your correct assignment, and then execute it with a proper closeout, you're going to find yourself in more trouble. But the way that they're playing right now is much, much, much improved than what we saw, especially in Maui, in those couple games after that. So I want to give a ton of credit to Will Wade, a ton of credit to the coaching staff for making adjustments. I heard Will Wade had some fiery comments already about the play and some of the criticism about Darren Williams and the media. Obviously, I can't say the couple magic words that Will Wade likes to use, especially when he does get fired up in some press conferences. But like I said, it's kind of the same point I've already made on here. The way that Darren continues to impact the game, even when his shot is not falling, that's going to be vitally important. And I know, like, when you bring a big fish, quote unquote, which is Darren Williams for this team, when you bring that to state, you're expecting, oh man, preseason ACC player of the year. We're looking for 15 plus, maybe some nights 20 plus. He's got to be the bus driver. And in most cases, that will be true. But sometimes the bus driver makes sure everyone else is getting their job done, or maybe, to use a school quote here, sitting their behinds in the seats and behaving properly. That means, making the extra pass to Venel Newman in the paint. Finding Paul McNeil on the wing when he has a clean, open look and making sure he can bury that one without any stress. The way that he continues to show leadership on that front, I think a lot of times it gets overlooked when he only has 1 point or 4 points or 8 points. So moving forward, watch how else he can impact the game, because obviously we want that scoring to happen in pockets as well. But I think Darren does deserve more credit than he has been getting, finding ways to make winning plays for other guys to take advantage of them as well. Paul McNeil, like I said, he was 2 of 5 from 3 tonight, continues to stay hot, and that's going to be something that can really affect both the ceiling and the floor of this team moving forward into ACC play. He had the weekend that was otherworldly. Last week, I think he was like 59% from downtown on nearly 30 shots, which is insanity. Continues that streak today, 40% from downtown, although the volume, like I said, was much lower, just 2 of 5. But the turnovers, I want to go back to the turnovers in this game. There's been a lot of commentary about how Quadir is kind of loose with the ball. He is. There's a lot of commentary about how Trey Holloman at times is loose with the ball. He is. But something that you notice in this game, not only did NC State turn the ball over 15 times, which is far, far too many times, but you forced 16 on the other end from Wake Forest. And so there is something to be said about when your team is not playing very well, but you're still finding a way to win this game. Not only win this game, but cover the spread. You won by double digits in a game that many of us in the first half are like, my God, what am I doing watching this? I could be doing so many other things. There's bowl games on. There's a gigantic spread of college basketball, and I'm wasting my time with this slop. But they win by 13. They turn it on in the second half, and they show you that this team, like I said, they're close. They're real close to being a pretty impressive machine. But, a lot of work still to be done. Wake Forest, maybe I was wrong about what they would or would not be. Again, kind of shocked at how poorly I thought they played here on Wednesday. But nonetheless, you're going to take that W. You're going to move forward into the rest of the slate. I believe the next game coming up at home is against Virginia. They are ranked, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Yes, currently 21st in the country. That's going to be a massive game with some pretty big early implications for NC State in this ACC slate. So this momentum that they found in these last couple weeks, now winners of their last 3 games in a row. 2 of those games have been against P4 opponents. All the naysayers in the room have talked about, Will Wade can't get it done when the competition ramps up. Well, Wake Forest has been a pretty solid team somewhat against, top competition in the country, and we just manhandle them. So if NC State is turning a corner, now would be a perfect time to do it. 13-point win over Wake Forest. That was great to see. Let's keep this rolling. Let's pick up a ranked win. How about that? What if we just picked up a ranked win coming up on Saturday in the Lenovo Center? I think we all need one of those, maybe even a couple of them. So again, great win for NC State. Overall impressed, even when we didn't play well. What matters the most is you found a way to dominate the end of that game. You win by 13. We'll take that and keep it pushing. Coming up next, like I said, this will be a relatively shorter episode because I don't like hearing myself talk for too long, amounts of time. Let's close on a good note. A new year is now among us. An old year of 2025. I don't even know where this year went. I guess it had somewhere to be, but let's talk about some of the top moments for NC State in 2025. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Wednesday sponsor is Gametime. There's simply nothing like college basketball season. The tailgates, the packed out arenas, and being right in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, and the stands. These are the moments that we all remember forever. But sometimes actually getting tickets, well, that can be the hard part. It can be confusing and frustrating with long queues, logins, and passwords to have to remember, and prices jumping off at checkout. However, that's why Gametime is giving the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college basketball tickets and experiences in just a few taps. The app is incredibly easy to use. I promise. I use it. You can go from browsing to buying tickets in simply minutes. You'll also love being able to see the view of your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. You can see college basketball tickets in the app starting as low as just $25, making it easy for you, your loved ones, or your friends to plan an easy day trip. You know what I'm saying here. Knowing the prices, including all the fees up front, will also make the entire process stress-free. So take the guesswork out of buying college basketball tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. As always, terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Gametime app today. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Gametime app today. Yeah, as you can probably tell, my mouth is getting dry because I have a big-time motor mouth. Anyway, the 2025 year is coming to a close. How crazy is that to try and conceptualize here? I have no idea where this calendar year has went, but NC State had so many very memorable moments to the 8th-ranked upset of Georgia Tech for NC State football. Georgia Tech was undefeated at the time. You bring them into a nighttime environment in Carter Finley, you never know what to expect. Well, one thing you can't expect is absolute chaos. I think for me, that might top my list of most memorable moments of the 2025 year. I think I might even lump in that Florida State game in there with it. Caden Noonkester recovering his own punt near the line of scrimmage. That was pure insanity to win that game, or at least close it out with back-to-back muff punts from Florida State. We'll probably talk about that one for a very long time. Sticking on the topic of football, I thought the progression and growth of CJ Bailey in 2025, it was great to watch. And I know many of us are kind of just sitting around waiting on pins and needles to hear something about CJ and what his plans are for this offseason or potentially next season with NC State. But if you take it for what it was worth, watching CJ, kind of get thrown into the fire as a true freshman and then place some pretty sizable expectations of him as a true sophomore, for him to throw for over 3,000 total yards when it was all said and done, when you include that bowl game. He was a great leader of this team, led us to 8 total wins if you do count the bowl game, the complete record. I thought all told, when you think about the preseason expectations for football on the whole, the win total is 6.5. You end up with 8 in total. Well, you cleared it in the regular season with 7 anyway, but I thought the end result for football this season, it was positive. And I know we want to win something. We want to make it to Charlotte. We want to play for an ACC championship. We want to have our name in the conversation of, more relevance on that college football front. But for what it was worth this season, I thought that was a success. For basketball, the most memorable moments of 2025 was, I think it's pretty obvious, the hiring of Will Wade in the beginning of the Red Reckoning saga here at NC State. I can only, sit back and remember very fondly about how amped up all of us were. And, the rumors and the whispering is like, are we going to get this done? Are we going to hire Will Wade? Is McNeese going to go on a run and get us totally screwed here, where we're kind of waiting to, let that ink dry on the paper? You land Will Wade. The excitement flusters back into the NC State basketball program. And it's been special to watch how much people care, again, to be quite honest with you, because there's a long stretch. If you don't include, obviously, the Final Four run, because that kind of stands on its own. But, the last decade plus of NC State just kind of wallowing around in mediocrity. And to watch us kind of get thrust back into some conversations about, man, Will Wade, Andrew Slater, the staff, they put together a pretty sizable, impressive portal class. Is NC State going to finally turn a corner and become something of themselves in the college basketball world again? That's where we're at. And so obviously with a win today, you're starting 1-0 in ACC play. Your goals are still on the table that Will Wade laid out for us. It feels good to, care, like really care, be invested in the success of college basketball at NC State again. So I think that has to be far and away the most memorable moment there. I myself am a big NC State baseball guy, so it was good to see us back in postseason play again. Jacob Duden is a dog. Anderson Nance is a dog. Ryan Marone is a dog, the three-headed monster on the mound. You have to imagine they will be the starting trio, the weekend guys for NC State coming up this season for baseball. I'm expecting pretty big things already. I've heard some good things come down the pipeline. I think we're going to have a very solid group for Elliott Avent and the gang on the diamond coming up in the spring. Women's basketball, Westmore does Westmore things. He finds a way to get the most out of his players. They're starting to, pick up some momentum themselves. They're already in ACC play as well. Westmore, we've come to expect greatness from him, and he delivers virtually every single time. We've also had multiple national champions. Vince Robinson for NC State Wrestling. That guy, he's really, I'm not a big wrestling guy, as you might be able to tell, but for him to put on for NC State, win himself an individual national championship, that was excellent to see. We had women's tennis win the doubles national championship. Women's cross country is now a dynasty in that space. I think that's 3 of the last 4 NC State has taken home the national championship trophy. You get men's soccer, make it all the way to the national final, coming up a little bit short, but year 2 of Mark Hubbard, I think there's only going to be bigger expectations for him for the rest of his time here in Raleigh. The status, the overall standing of NC State athletics on the whole, I know it's frustrating to watch the SEC dominate the hypotheticals, and in some cases, the real world. Big Ten is not far behind them. When you lump in the conference realignment whispers and all that nonsense, for what it is right now, I like where NC State is at. I think Boo Corrigan, we've said on here a bunch of times in the past, he's done a great job, in large part behind the scenes, because he doesn't really want a ton of public credit for the stuff that, gets accomplished around here. Boo Corrigan has been doing an excellent job leveling both the ceiling and the floor on the whole of the NC State athletic program. So he deserves a lot more flowers than he's probably gotten. I'm seeing some comments in here. You want some comments on the Will Wade presser? I did see some of it. We'll probably talk more about it with Kenton likely on Thursday. But, I like where NC State is at right now. I think football is entering a very interesting offseason. If you can bring back CJ, add some supplemental pieces in the portal, you might be able to make it run at a little something next year in 2026, maybe 9, maybe 10 wins. I know we all don't want to hear that until we see it get accomplished, but I think the schedule lines up nicely. If you can get a roster to match that, the expectations, they will most certainly be there. So I'll finish my rambling here with a big thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you. I mean, we've been doing this together on here for coming up on now 3 total years. Every year has been bigger than the last. 2025 was no exception to that. The support that we've gotten from NC State fans has been nothing short of absolutely incredible. It's still very weird for the two of us to, go to a football game or go to a basketball game, and we have people coming up to us like, hey, man, we watch you guys every day. And for me, that's such a surreal feeling, because there's many nights where we get on here and we're tired and we got to do this every day, and we love doing it every day. But to watch the real, person-to-person interaction that we experience from all of you guys, it's so incredibly special to us. So we love doing this podcast. That's the reason we do this, because we love doing this, and we love doing it with y'all, not just for y'all, but with y'all. We love the amount of comments and pictures y'all send us and tweet at us like, hey, I'm down here at Tampa. Where's everybody at? I'm at the Gasparilla Bowl. I love that stuff. Most importantly, the biggest thing I love about this podcast is interacting with NC State's fan base. There is no better fan base in the country. We all know that to be true, but to watch us all pick each other up and, sometimes you kind of look around for answers when things are not going well, but we're all in this together. And it's always been that way. If you've been around NC State for majority of your life like I have, you know what I'm talking about. This fan base just moves differently than any other fan base. The highs, the lows, and every single moment in between. What's important to us is we are one pack. And I know that's cheesy, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from here. So thank you all so incredibly much for another great year for the two of us. 2025 is another big one here for the Locked On Wolfpack podcast. looking at 2026, hoping for an even bigger year than the last. So again, Happy New Year to all. Please have a very safe evening with your loved ones, whether you're going to be out and about or at home. That's the move, by the way. Stay home. Just enjoy and reflect upon a great year that was 2025, and maybe build some aspirations for how you and your loved ones can make 26 even bigger and better. So that will do it for us. Closing out, or I guess signing off here for the last time in 2025. Thank you all so much. We love you. Thank you for tuning in, commenting, liking, subscribing, all the above. We appreciate you all so very much. Nothing, I promise, nothing ever goes unnoticed with the two of us. So thank you all so very much for the support. We will see you on the other side of midnight in 2026. And until then, as always, go Pack.